Recently, I've been reading about the authenticity of the New Testament, and I thought a great first entry into this video series would be the letters of Paul. In this video, we're going to raise some interesting questions surrounding the authorship of the Pauline epistles and the validity of their attribution to him. By the end of this video, we should get a sense about the theological developments of Paul's doctrine and what that says about the authenticity of the Pauline letters within Christianity. The authorship of the Pauline epistles has been a subject of scholarly debate for quite a while. While these letters have been traditionally attributed to Paul, many scholars raise concerns about the authenticity of these letters. Scholars cite differences in style, vocabulary, and theological emphasis between the letters. According to them, this casts doubts on Paul being the only author of the epistles. Critical scholars will argue that the disputed letters such as 1 Timothy, 2 Timothy, and Titus show significant discrepancies when compared to the undisputed letters like Romans and Galatians. These differences suggest a different authorship or possibly the influence of later theological developments. According to Bart Ehrman, one of the most renowned scholars on the authenticity of the New Testament, these discrepancies raise questions about the true authorship and suggest a possibility of later authors using Paul's name. In this video, we're going to show the theological development that arises between Romans and Galatians. Despite the fact that both these letters are generally accepted to be the work of Paul, we will still examine the progressive doctrine within these letters. In chapter 3 of the book of Romans, Paul proclaims that the Jews and the Gentiles are much in the same, in that they fall short of the glory of God and are saved by faith. However, he specifies that the Mosaic law which the Jews follow is a tool to reveal sin and become conscious of it. Paul sees purpose in the law, but tells people not to rely on it, as those who rely solely on the law will not be justified before God. He ultimately concludes in the 3rd chapter by saying that both the Jews and the Gentiles, those who are circumcised and uncircumcised, will be justified through faith, and that we should uphold the law. A theological development starts to arise when Paul addresses the Galatians in his letters, which seeks to correct the strict followers of the Mosaic law. The perennialist attitude that was shown towards the Jews and the Gentiles in Romans disappears, and Paul retorts by stating that the law is a curse and anyone under it is a curse. He argues that strict adherence to the Mosaic law cannot save humanity and that righteousness is a gift from God, accessible only through faith. This seemingly contradicts and abandons his egalitarian approach in Romans 3 and swaps it out by condemning those who practice the law. Now, this theological development on its own does not necessarily disprove the authorship of Romans or Galatians, but it certainly raises questions about the author's intentions. Even if we grant that Paul lettered Galatians, it still leaves us with the theological problem about those who choose to live under the law. Could they still be justified through faith, as Romans suggest, or are they condemned to be a curse, as Galatians suggests? Considering that Paul's writings make up nearly half of the New Testament books, self-proclaimed followers of Christ should question whether the religion they're following is really Christianity or actually Paulinity.